We have started the recording, so thank you very much. It's March 11th, 6:25, so we'll go ahead. Oh, and we have one more here. But very excited to welcome everyone again. I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, but we've all been very, very busy, which is a good thing. I know that staff has been busy working for lots of updates as well. Did want to recognize Councilwoman Julie Hummer here. She's here just to say hello and watch. She does need to leave a little early, but I appreciate her just stopping by, just kind of hear everything that's going on. She's been really active and involved in hearing about what's been happening, so we appreciate that. The other update I wanted to give was some sad news for us, good news for her. Nicole Walsh Meadows got an exciting new job working for the state of Maryland in a Medicaid program. However, the ethics officers, despite her many pleas, have said that she's not able to be on the committee. So she unfortunately had to resign, which is really a bummer because she was hoping to get like a waiver since we're kind of near the end. But they were pretty strict about it, just saying that they saw a conflict of interest in her role on it. So anyway, so we wish her the best. I mean, she's been a tireless advocate. She comes to all the meetings. She's very, very well researched, and I know it was like really hard for her, but she also was really excited. She's been waiting to get this job, I think, for like 9 months. It took to like finally get a state job. So, but yeah, it was one of those things where even with all the ethics training we did and everything, they said could move forward. So, so that's why we only needed 6 people tonight for quorum instead of 7 like normal. But we wish Nicole the best, and you know she'll still be involved as a citizen, but she just can't officially be involved as a member here. So, so with that, I just wanted to confirm today's agenda. Everybody has it in advance in front of them. So can I have a motion to approve it unless there's a change? Keisha moves to approve it. Jim seconds. Any changes, discussion? All right. So move. We'll go with the agenda. And then I know we need to approve the March 16th meeting minutes, but I think Kevin, did you have a few comments?
Yeah. Okay. The main comment was we had shortly discussed the area of 175 east of the school, and it wasn't in the minutes, and we had talked about how it had changed to W1 on one side and C1 on the other. And we had reached consensus that that was fine. I mean, it was hardly a discussion, but.
Yeah, no, you're right. We did have a discussion.
Yeah, it was a short discussion. I think it's worth having in the minutes. And it's not, unless I missed it, it's not in the minutes right now.
So so you're saying east of the school on the south side or the north side?
Both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Keep those properties as W1?
No, the south side. Yeah, what happened was that it had been the oh boy, it's been too long. The land use had changed.
Okay.
And so you guys went ahead and changed the zoning to be match the land use. And we said, by consensus, we said, yeah, that's fine.
Change. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was changing the zoning to match family and land use.
And I know it was on the south side, I think it was on the north side too. But it was yeah. And then the other thing I would say is, and then at the very end, during the public input, what I had said was that you know, in reference to the you know, there was a concern about recusing oneself during votes, and there really weren't any votes. It was mainly consensus. And what I saw was whenever somebody's property was involved, the person just didn't say anything, which just seems appropriate to me. I mean, they didn't stand up on their chairs and say, I'm recusing myself from this consensus, but you know, that's what happened. So I thought that I thought the concern was unwarranted.
But you're recommending it change the minutes, or you're just making a comment on the minutes?
I don't know. Do we add?
Oh, we certainly. Do you have the minutes up by any chance?
I do not, if I can pull them up and add them in there. Most likely what happened was we listened back to the recordings of the minutes. There's so much going on that probably was missed, but I'll go ahead and add this back to the minutes.
Okay, well, yeah, the part about the consensus on following the land use, that should be added.
Yeah,
But what I
'cause that was
just
the
said,
conversation.
I don't know.
We'll make that it's circulated to you guys, make sure that we've got it correct, and then we can
Yeah,
finalize stuff. Okay. But I think the concept is, if everybody's on board with that,
okay, so then I guess let's just have a motion and table the minutes until these changes are made. And then we'll pass that on a later date.
Well, I think you can make the motion now with, we can get the exact wording done later, but just the idea of making sure that those two items are included,
Okay.
reflected, accurate.
So the motion is to approve the minutes as.
With those two.
With those two minutes.
Yeah. All right, so Kevin made that motion. And we'll second it. Any other edits or changes to the March 16th minute? No, all right, hearing none, we will go ahead and consider those approved as amended. All right, so with that, we'll turn it over to Mark to talk about a review of the draft region plan strategies.
Okay. Thank you. This. Okay. So just to start, I want to set the stage with results from the questionnaire. And before we get into that, review the demographics of those respondents. So again, just to reiterate, the questionnaire wasn't necessarily a vote that said if a certain number of people disagreed with the strategy that it automatically gets stricken. It's really just provide some general feedback for you all, then to make some final decisions on these strategies. So of those individuals that participated in this questionnaire, we wanted to just compare, again, those individuals responding to the questionnaire compared to the demographics of Region 2. So ones that stood out were, again, 48% of the respondents identified as white, and the population in Region 2 is 37%. Then nearly 40% of those respondents reported a household income greater than 100,000. And again, this is, you can read it however you want. 40% preferred not to answer. So again, just wanted to provide that data point for you all. And again, so then in Region 2, about half the population has an income greater than $100,000. Okay. And then another one to really keep in mind, this was kind of significant, was 85% of the people that took the survey or took the questionnaire indicated that they own their home, whereas in Region 2, that population is 58%. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're going through these, especially the housing strategies, for example. Okay. So what we're doing tonight is we're going to review the strategies that where respondents disagree, where the number of those that disagreed was 50% or higher. And of all the strategies, there were 3 of those, 2 in housing and 1 in the economy section. So the first item and then we'll also cover some potential strategies that came out of, there was an open-ended question that said, are there any issues or strategies you think that we need to address that were already listed above or formalized in a strategy? So Sam and I went through those and we said, that seems like a good idea. That might be an issue that you all didn't bring up, and maybe we need to discuss that and figure out a strategy if it's worth pursuing. So with that, we have 8 items to review. We've provided the statistics as well as our position on how you want to move forward potentially with the strategy. And we can start with this first one. And can everybody read that, especially folks in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 25.
Okay, so I'll let sort of like we did with strategies, I'll let you all review it and then we can talk about it.
What I don't understand is the part at the bottom where you say a easy position based on comments. What were the comments?
So we provided you all the raw comments
Yeah.
and then a summary of the
We
comments.
have to go back and look at that.
Right. I can pull those up if you'd like, or you can, if you're comfortable with our summary, and our position and based on the comments. So what we're saying here is indicated, the comments really indicated a concern about increasing development and traffic. That was a general theme throughout these housing and development strategies, was folks didn't want development. They felt it might increase traffic. But again, this was just one strategy that was more than 50% of those respondents disagreed with.
The biggest piece, this is kind of what many of us have been very passionate about, is figuring out more affordable and workforce housing. So while I feel folks disagree with this, at the same time, it's something that we've heard over and over and over from, you name it, every sector in this piece, that we need more workforce and affordable housing in this area, and particularly those two areas, the 198 corridor and Arundel Mills. So I mean, I appreciate their concern, but we've heard the other side as well, very vocally in many other spots.
Just to follow up on that, when the folks came in to present to us on affordable housing, it sounded like any flexibility that could be given to help ease roadblocks would be greatly beneficial to helping advance some of those projects. And I think that's probably where the original strategy came from.
Yeah.
And maybe the folks commenting didn't have the benefit of sitting on that.
Although I think we might assuage some of the concern by saying that, when it says in key areas, maybe we should make it clear that we're not talking about key areas all over the region.
Yeah.
We're talking about really just two. So maybe instead of such as, maybe just say specifically, maybe instead of key areas, targeted areas.
In targeted areas.
Yeah, because we really want to focus it down on just targeted areas.
Including
Yeah,
targeted areas, including.
no, I would say specifically,
Does that
target
constrain
areas, specifically the Maryland 198 corridor and Arundel Mills area.
Or do you just want to say housing in the Maryland 128 in the Arundel Mills area?
Yeah, that's even better.
Say that again, Marilyn.
Just cross.
Housing in and take out up to Maryland.
Yeah, take out targeted to the,
Housing,
Up
One more.
such as, take up out all up to,
the housing in the Maryland one.
no, leave in
Even in, sorry.
key
Yeah.
to as, you go.
keep going.
You're gonna get it, you're gonna get
Okay.
it, don't worry.
Key
What
areas such
words
as,
might
take out.
deleting? How
Key
about
areas.
Key areas
such
such as.
key areas such as? Okay,
There you
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
okay.
thank you, Marilyn.
The 198 quarter and Arundel Mills.
how does, I mean, the problem with that is like, how do you define it?
Yeah.
Well, we gotta have at least some flexibility.
Right, I mean, I think you're constraining it by, in my opinion, constraining it by picking two areas.
In our discussions, we decided that those were the two best, most appropriate for this higher density.
What about, I guess, parts of Jessup though, don't count, it's like an area of, we could have some of that.
I don't know, R22, right? I think we've gotten some pushback about higher density in the Jessup area,
Yeah,
right?
That I can see.
But
So,
so could they build on that area when we propose like mixed use stuff? Could they build like affordable housing in some of those units for mixed use?
affordable or workforce housing, the use starts with, I believe, R5. So you wouldn't necessarily have to go to R22 to achieve that,
right.
that goal of getting workforce or affordable housing.
But they could do it in the mixed use area, is what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay,
Right, they wouldn't need R22.
so then why would we need to limit it then to just those two areas then?
I guess you don't. Really?
Yeah, the reason I think we should is because I think a lot of the disagreement with this strategy is coming from people thinking it's gonna end up in their backyard.
But I think the issue is why should those two specific areas bear the burden of trying to solve the issue of workforce housing and affordable housing alone? You have a whole county, you have a whole region.
Right.
Yeah, because 198, the corridors are already busy.
Right.
So, adding more, increasing the density will cause more problem personally. So, I'm kind of leaning that we should kind of explore different areas, in that region.
But those are the areas that do have the transportation and do have the density now, so they can support density. It's proven that we can.
What else are you thinking though we could build? I'm trying to remember up in that, but I can't. For like 198, I'm trying to.
Yeah, because my concern is, maybe you guys can help me, especially 198, and I know Arundel News is also busy, but right now, think of 198. It's already condensed, like really, so, I'm trying to see which area, maybe, I'm just trying to figure out where in 198 are we looking at?
Could we just disperse it throughout region 2?
You might want to be more focused.
Yeah, people think, okay, it's gonna spring up in my backyard, it's gonna spring up everywhere.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. I mean, there's like,
But zoning wouldn't allow that.
right. But we're saying that we should add our.
We're talking about density, they're not zoning.
Yeah, I think that I was looking at R22 and I think change this to 22 dwelling, change it to the actual density, right? So R22 is the zoning district, but I think what we're actually talking about here is density greater than 22 dwelling units per acre. To specify.
Right, I think this just ties back to when we, when your affordable housing folks mentioned that R22 is the ideal zoning for them to construct product on. I think that's where R22 came from. And the discussion was there just isn't much. Zoned to R22.
I mean, if it's not zoned R22, how are they gonna get a density greater than?
I mean, this could influence any mixed use zoning districts, so. If,
Even mixed use zoning districts aren't R22.
right, but I'm saying is when we do look at those and make any changes, if there's that opportunity to have. Change it from the mixed, right now they're mixed use employment, transportation, employment, residential. If we go to more of an intensity based mixed use zoning district scale, you can have a mixed use high. And then your dwelling units per acre could be greater than 22. And you have a mixed use zoning district low, that's more of a, I don't know, 5 dwelling units per acre, something like that.
Well, which makes no sense though, because mixed use is supposed to be the targeted, areas where you have higher density.
Yeah.
Right, but also have a mix of uses. So when we were talking about the Jessup train station, we were thinking of,
Yeah.
Maybe just a 2-story building or a 3-story building, right? That has your commercial on the ground floor, office, and then residential above it. And that's much different than, I think, what folks envision along the Maryland 198 corridor at Arundel Mills. That could go up to, I don't know, 15 stories.
But this strategy doesn't say anything about mixed use. Isn't the intention of this to just, if a project does workforce or affordable housing, like if you go into the workforce housing legislation now, you're allowed on 15. Isn't that what the intention was? If you did workforce housing that's permitted in a certain zone, it doesn't have to be mixed use, that you could go up to 22 instead of 15 dwelling units per acre. I think that's where they're coming from, right?
That's why I wanted to get rid of R22, right?
Right, no, right.
So maybe it's 22 units per acre or greater for projects to provide workforce.
Oh, right,
increased density grading.
boy,
That would just be reiterating it, right?
So as a point of knowledge, the apartments around trustee friend, Mrs. Shannon's place, that's in mixed use. What is that density?
R15,
Is that only 15? Okay,
that's mixed use residential,
right. Yeah, and so and that part of it is R15.
but it's not like that part of the land is R15, you're allowed to develop up to 15 units an acre when you're meeting the mixed use requirement. So
Right.
to
And
meet
then,
the commercial, the residential percentages, then you can develop up to 15 units.
right, and that's what's in place right there is
So
15
the
units.
way I would look at it is the entirety of that project has a density available of R15. And what you don't see that's residential is the mixed use component. So the townhomes are also zoned R15. The Apartments are all zoned R15, the whole assemblage is R15 because of the mixed use. You're allowed up to 15. So what we're saying is that if you're looking at an affordable project, instead of capping that at 15, you'd be able to go up to 22.
and most mixed use projects
Never.
don't meet the density that they're allowed. There's just so many other things that, affect open space, right area, road improvements, all those kinds of things, right?
So basically, are we adding in more places towards the end instead of it just being limited to those two areas?
Or do you want to add an area at all? Do you want to just say if they're doing workforce affordable, that they could do up to, greater than 22 units per acre?
Given that affordable or workforce is only allowed in certain areas.
Right,
Well, I guess in accordance with, zoning,
Correct.
Right.
You just need to say that.
So we could say after in, we could say in appropriate areas
Right.
in accordance with zoning. Primarily make it better now.
In compliance with zoning, that's,
zone code,
yeah.
zone code, even.
And then take out,
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, because at least it gives it a little more. different areas. Maybe that'll help them solve it a little more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what is the intention, like, these are strategies. So, even once this gets approved, nobody can do that, the
Right.
code has to change
Right.
to allow that.
Text them.
Right, so is that the idea, is after the region plan's approved and the zoning maps are changed, that code's gonna be changed to accommodate
We would
this?
have to go around and change the code. And of course, there's discussion and hearings
Right,
on each one. Any changes to the code requires that.
but that is the intention of this process.
Yes, yeah, they can't happen with the plan itself. The plan is a policy.
And that would follow the comprehensive.
Follow the comprehensive.
Gotcha.
and that's why when we have terms like appropriate areas, I think we're hearing it, but then, and Councilwoman Hunter's hearing it, but what happens if there's a new council person, they say appropriate areas? What does that mean? And so that's why if we can strive for identifying specific areas. And again, still 198 corridor, people can say, oh, how far off the highway or what length? There can still be interpretation, but I believe that it focuses the strategy a little bit more.
But if you're gonna go back and change the code, why couldn't you just say workforce and affordable housing in accordance with the zoning code, and then the zoning code's what really determines where this can happen?
And not to beat a dead horse, but the two examples that we went over of actual built affordable housing projects
Mhm.
were not in these areas.
Mhm.
One's up 175, closer to Fort Meade. I think another one was down near Crawford.
So what are you saying this is serving as a guide, and so the more descriptive we are, it'll help to code for
decision
zoning and the code? So then maybe what you're saying is, so since it's a guide and then people might revisit this months later, we should probably leave in certain areas then. That's what that sounds like.
Or it can be determined from what you recommended to rezone, because the workforce housing is only gonna be allowed in specific zoning categories.
Right. Okay.
So that's another way.
So if you
Yeah,
go,
that's
if you go to the workforce housing code, right now it says R15, so they would have to go in and change that to R22. And then
Wherever you recommended R22
Or mixed use.
we can also write it in the plan, you know, documented areas that we discussed for different types of housing, including workforce housing, so it can be described in the plan, the locations. And then that way, in case there's a rezoning for an area that you are recommending now, but maybe it doesn't get approved now, but maybe later they come in for an added rezoning, it has to go in place.
I just don't want to be confusion later.
Yeah.
Because the objective of this whole exercise is that we would like workforce and affordable housing.
Yeah.
And there's a need,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I just,
I forgot, another place that there's a project that's been built right now is down Rockbridge Road by the prison.
so is that affordable?
Yeah, it's across from the Indian church there.
Are they viewing in the prison? Oh.
So there's a
Oh, they're pretty.
patch of woods.
Oh, like how?
Yeah, well, that's,
It's pretty wooded around it.
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, I know, I can, in the backyard, in the winter time.
What a view.
One of the reasons, and get to see them all.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we got lots of congratulations when they closed the prison there. It was like, yeah, well, there's 12 more.
Yeah.
I guess they closed one.
I mean, my personal opinion is you leave it flexible and not identify places.
Yeah,
So
I
that
agree.
you have the most flexibility.
But so what were you saying, where we can add it back in, are you talking about the map or?
No, in the description, you know, each plan will have text that describes the community, so within a particular community, you can describe, you know, what your vision is for that.
Can we cite to that in this then, so that they can have a point of reference for the referral, so the specific areas we want included?
Yeah, you can do it in the plan, you know, well, I think it's, these are gonna be in the plan itself. So.
Anybody reading it comprehensively would be
Yeah.
able to
it's-
put it together.
Join it now because you're seeing the
Yeah.
strategies, but.
That's it, yeah.
But there will be description of the community, the existing conditions, and then also what the vision is for those areas.
So we can describe affordable housing to include XYZ areas
Yeah.
in that,
Yeah, and then description, yeah.
and we're doing that, we're also drafting that part too.
And the staff is drafting and you'll get a.
Oh, we'll get to review it. Okay,
Yeah, and it's based on the stuff.
that was good.
Okay.
I'm at peace.
Okay, this next item, I'll let you all read it first and then we can discuss.
That's the highest one of any, right? That's the highest degree.
So I think from a lot of these discussions, what I remember from Mayor Lee rightfully educating us on is that the forest con really can limit a project. And it can almost X out a project before you even start. So, you know, we're not saying get rid of all the trees, but we're saying there's got to be a little bit more flexibility, or we're not going to get any sort of affordable housing projects. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's.
20% if you're less than 5 acres, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's what the affordable housing developers were saying is, we can only really afford those smaller lots. And when it's under 5 acres and you're already now dedicating 20% to reforestation. And
Forest
then,
conservation.
or forest conservation, and then other infrastructure, it kind of eats into your.
Bike parking, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
and like,
All the land is the same cost, but.
Yeah, what is the percentage on larger parcels?
Is it
Oh,
less?
no, some of them are
Range around
30.
20 or
It just
25%.
depends.
Depends on the use.
It's the use, it's use based,
But
medium density, high density, industrial, they all different. And it depends if you're in a targeted growth area versus PFA versus not.
okay, so what you're saying is the code is not different for smaller lots, it's just has. a bunch
No,
of
it is.
chat.
There's a column for less than
There's
5
There's
acres.
a whole
And
chart.
it's worse than,
It's probably worse than like industrial, but not as bad as. We could,
the less than 5 acres,
You
I'm
have,
trying to imagine this
you
chart.
have, it's a matrix, right?
Yeah.
It's got a couple columns. You know, the header of the column says if you're less than 5 acres and you have this type of use, then you have to save this amount of trees. And
If you're more than,
if you're over 5 acres and in different sub areas, then it gives you different tree preservation requirements. But
okay,
what Mayor,
for a small
it's
parcel
more, it's more.
compared to a large parcel, all the other same parameters. The smaller parcel would require a higher percentage.
Correct.
Well, why don't we just say that? Make it so that small parcels.
Because I think it's
Are
only,
not
it's
called
only
out.
addressing 5 acre parcels, right?
I
I think what we,
Our concern here.
but no, I think what we heard, this was also part of why they were looking to get higher density. Right, because they were having a.
to go up instead of out, because they had to save all the trees. Yeah, I mean, a 5 acre parcel isn't very big for workforce housing.
So what is, that seems, one of the reasons I have a problem with this is it seems ridiculous. Why would you require a higher percentage if you have a smaller lot?
It was in 2019, it was just how the whole thing was set up.
Well, why don't we say just, consider
And I think,
eliminating the additional forest conservation easement?
I think the one comment from the minutes of that meeting was. That the chart's already set up to allow different size parcels and different uses to preserve less forest. So that was just a general strategy to say, provide some flexibility for affordable housing.
Yeah.
Because there are built-in options in the code depending on your use. So affordable is one of those uses, maybe it could have one of the less restrictive forest conservation requirements. I think Mark's probably gonna pull up the chart.
What do you happen to know?
17, keep going.
17.6.
17.6. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So if you see subtitle 3,
There it is.
Primarily, it's also a force like disjointed, and it breaks the parcel so much, and it becomes even more difficult to even design.
Yeah.
So here's the chart. Okay.
Can you read that, Kevin? Just about.
Yeah,
Yeah, it says greater than 5 acres, it's great, oh, yeah, the first line said, yeah.
less than 5 acres, right?
more than likely affordable would be what, high density residential, right?
Yeah,
The residential area. Then now you've highlighted, I can't read it.
Oh, sorry.
so,
Is that the same percentage all the way across?
no, it goes up as you get to, bigger sites.
And that's the percentage that have to remain forest.
So just if you have a 5 acre parcel, you take the gross acreage times that percentage, and you have to save that in trees. If
Right.
you don't have the trees, you have to plant it for what's not there.
So it's actually the larger parcels that have a higher requirement for trees.
Depending upon where you are,
Right.
whether you're in a targeted growth area.
Yeah,
Or priority funding area.
So for example, if you wanted to give affordable housing the same flexibility as mixed use, it could then have 15, 20, or 30, depending on where it's located.
oh, right. I see.
Where if you just look at it as high density, it's 20, 20, 25, and 35. So when we were talking about flexibility in forest con, it wasn't to disregard forest conservation, it's to maybe utilize some of the percentages already baked into the chart.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah, So for uses defined as affordable housing, use the mixed use.
For example, yeah, if we were just broad, say, be
Yeah.
flexible.
Yeah,
I think we should leave it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a long discussion and I think we all kind of agreed that we needed flexibility or to make it happen.
The only part of that, that I'm not following is the last section that says housing projects so that existing multifamily parcels can yield more. I don't follow that. Do we remember why we did that?
They got existing, right?
Or just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Area at the front.
Yeah, right.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Or do you want to leave
Yeah.
that last part, take out so that, or,
No, I agree. I agree with
Take out.
leaving so
Yeah.
that existing multi, yeah.
Is there, and another thing I guess is there a definition of affordable housing? I mean, is there a defined affordable housing project, you know, is it?
Yes, workforce, there's a
that's the actual use.
Yeah, so,
It's based on, various funding, because they have to have certain,
yeah,
they can't have lease rates or for sale over certain
Right.
amounts over mean, and I think it's mean.
median.
right.
median.
And, but I wonder if some people are concerned because this is gonna be applied to anyone who decides, hey, I'm calling this affordable housing.
Oh,
So
it's not easy.
Yeah,
That's why there's only a couple of them right now.
yeah, so maybe if we add the terms, county defined affordable housing or code defined.
You may want to use
Well, I think
just
that,
workforce housing projects, because then it specifies the actual use, which is defined in the code as 60% average median income.
Yes, how about the
are you
workforce?
sure there's not an affordable housing?
There's not a definition yet. One of, I can't remember which of the region plans,
There's a whole,
recommended adding the
Yeah.
definition to the code, so that's another shot.
right, because
keep it
there's all this affordable housing stuff in the code. There's a whole section.
There's no definition.
Affordable housing really just refers to if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing.
Right.
So affordable housing is different for somebody making 100,000 and somebody making 50,000. That's why when you use a metric, like median income for the specific area, then it's key to one particular
Right.
statistic.
Well, I was just saying, maybe add to the end of this, after housing projects as defined by county code. I mean, I feel better about it. I know it really doesn't say anything to say that, but
Are you fine if I strike and affordable housing, or do you want to keep
yeah,
that?
no, fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
For workforce
But
housing,
if you write as defined by code.
it's just emphasizing the fact that this is not just willy-nilly, this is
Sure.
defined use and limited use and hard to attain
But
use.
So the workforce is, the requirement for workforce, we're still gonna accomplish making housing more affordable for people.
Right,
Okay,
So workforce is like a prescribed formula of how you arrive at pricing in a subdivision. Affordable housing is like a general terminology, there's no formula in the code. for that.
let me pull it up here.
Although, do you want, if you're gonna add definitions? do you-
Yeah, I mean, that was
Yeah, if you're gonna add a definition of affordable, I'd leave it in there.
that's what I would say,
Yeah,
if they're adding
It
a
doesn't
definition.
hurt to have it in there.
I don't think so either.
So for workforce housing as a conditional use, at least, let's say, so it's based on whether it's a ownership or rental unit. Looking at for rental units does not exceed 60% of the median income. For the household size in the Baltimore primary metropolitan statistical area defined, published annually by HUD. So that's very specific,
yes,
right?
we know that, but there's somebody reading this this.
Yeah, but-
thing.
So that's what we just added here as
Right.
defined in the county code.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I would like.
But then, but what's gonna, the new definition of affordable housing gonna be? Cause I don't wanna exclude that then.
Affordable housing is that number that can really range based on somebody's income. Whereas workforce housing is more tied to the median income within an area.
But what are you all planning on doing, this definition of affordable housing, what is
Yeah.
the point of it? Is it to define what makes up affordable housing, or?
I mean, I don't know anything. I'm not aware of what
The other.
the action is. Yeah,
I can look, I can't remember what she was in, might have been seven. Cause the term kept coming up during discussions and people were confused about what it meant. So I don't know that it will actually apply to any kind of development, that's another,
because it's just in the plan, right?
right,
It's not in the code.
But if you go to search and type in affordable housing, what pops up here? There's all this legislation that affordable housing, I can't remember what it said here.
So it comes up in 3 sections. The only section in Article 17 is. I think that's the parole section, I want to say, because it's referring to the incentive program, right?
Yeah.
So. And all that makes sense for parole, so,
as defined by.
If I'm
Right.
But
you can.
Yes.
So that has a separate definition.
Right, but for our purposes in the code,
Well, there's it.
it's workforce housing. Any additional thoughts? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now jumping to transportation. Let's see, so these were. There were a couple here that in the comments. Were substantive enough to, again, bring back to you all and say, well. And a couple folks had asked for a couple different other locations like Jessup or Annapolis Junction to be noted within the strategy. And again, just want to bring it to you all and see if that makes sense to add those locations within the strategy, because right now we're just referencing Maryland City and Laurel to go eastbound to Glenbury and Annapolis. And the question is whether Jessup and Annapolis Junction need those additional direct or on-demand routes, transit routes.
The answer is yes.
Okay, so we go Jessup, Maryland City, does that work? Based on the comments? Yeah, okay. Okay, and then the next couple, I think it's 3 of them, were ideas in that open-ended question at the end of that questionnaire. So this was one individual's comment talking about having regulations so that you're not building parking lots for Easter Sunday or, large events that happen that are one-offs, that you can actually build parking lots to be more right-sized on an average demand basis, you could say, right?
Several things going on at this one time.
Yeah, I wanted to provide everything. I didn't want to change any words or paraphrase it. I wanted to give it to you.
Isn't the code already recognized? I mean, I don't know how the parking regulations work.
Oh, yeah, you can do shared parking agreements now in the code. Right size. I mean, I don't know what really what that means,
That would be a new definition.
yeah. I mean, there are parking requirements, you know,
Appropriate then, appropriate parking or a portion of parking or.
you know, maybe what they're thinking is, if you wanted to, if you couldn't do shared, but you have a use that traditionally only uses, you know, so much parking, I don't know. Sometimes you can do an administrative request to lower it if you have other facilities, you know, you can base it on, or maybe they were thinking you need a variance to change it because parking isn't zoning code. I'm not sure.
I'm just starting to get the ball rolling and, you know,
Yeah.
feel free to clarify, expand.
When you say rates, what do you mean?
Yeah, requirements.
Parking requirements or? I don't know, because we're trying to go for. Parking to match the use of the building or.
Is the whole, and I can keep reading this, is the whole intention of this to, they're saying you should reduce parking and be able to share parking so that you can use that land to put in bike and pedestrian improvements, is that kind of what?
I can't interpret it. I read the comment. I read the comment and I thought to myself, well, I think they're getting at maybe just at least the first part of right sizing parking lots.
Right.
But
It
again,
seems like there's two unrelated items here. And then the other thing is,
They're trying to make more bite.
yeah, more,
Where you give up parking spaces for like that.
Like, that's what I'm.
yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
No. They did that in Silver Spring, it's annoying, there's more traffic now, I don't like that. Bike
Oh,
lanes
yeah, they
everywhere.
took a lane. away.
Yes.
I know.
It's bad traffic, like, why'd you do that?
I heard
No,
about
I
that.
don't want that here.
It has caused a huge, yeah,
We already have things to talk about. Bikeways.
yeah.
and-
yeah, I just don't know if we need a new strategy.
Maybe it's just the flexibility around allow reduced parking requirements.
One more bike paths.
To reduce impervious cover.
Yeah,
Seems to be more of a.
Yeah.
Messy.
Yeah, that would make sense, yeah. That's fine.
should we say consider allowing greater
Yeah,
flexibility?
consider, yeah, exactly. We're not like, this is,
Yeah.
hill will die on.
Is there though, like, I guess you all might know, a connecting route for our area to other major bike paths, like how, like in Bethesda, will bike you all the way through Silver Spring, through like DC, there's other, do we have something like that? That
The
can, like, connect
WBNA trail that goes,
Yeah.
the WBNA trail that goes, north-south actually connects to, Prince George's County's WBNA
But
trail.
what can connect to us though? Like, to-
Let's see,
You need to get down to
School.
Crofton.
that's
And
far.
tired of-
it is.
trying
That's
to
what
be
connecting
fun.
us.
No, because they were using the rails, the old rail lines, that's why a lot of people use, and there wasn't one, if the rails thing.
Yeah.
Although whenever they widen 175, they throw in the bike lane.
Yeah, that's the state's new requirement. Mhm.
So is the new bridge going over the parkway? Is that gonna have the bike lane?
But that would,
Is it?
that would.
Okay.
probably- that's-
Because, yeah, right now it's just these little pieces that's gonna
Mhm.
continue. And it's interesting, there's always been on weekends, there's always been a lot of bicycle. Traffic on 175. And it used to be, it had such a nice paved shoulder. I think that's good, but now that they messed it up in front of my house in the always in Parkway, you don't see it as much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, the thought here is, if we get this 90% of the way there.
Mhm.
OPZ, we can sort of tweak it as necessary, but as long as we keep that intent of. You all just want to revise the requirements to reduce parking, or
Yeah,
revise the parking requirements. So that folks don't have to build a lot of parking. And we can plan to ease that over the next, month or so.
So it's really the zoning code, right? Development.
That has parking.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say revising parking requirements.
Yeah, it's the development, that's. The last one there, where it says seek opportunities for creative traffic calming, I've run into this, I know the Department of Public Works, they do not like traffic calming. It's funny, you'll go into Baltimore County, you'll go to Howard, and you can go down the road and they'll put those things, near the road and slow you. DPW does not like it in Arundel County.
really.
It's like
Yeah.
fighting to get them.
Can't get a speed bump.
Yeah, it's crazy, I don't know why.
Sort of develop.
Yeah, so is Baltimore County, they're everywhere, every side street, because it just promotes people to go slower, they're not racing down them. But that might be why they put that, because you can't get traffic on.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good with this?
Yeah.
Next one.
I know, I saw
Stop
that.
Maglev.
I would say since there's no strong maglev. I mean, I know it's there, but I mean, I feel like.
I don't see what the big deal is.
It's like, what, 70 feet underground or something?
So exactly, like, who cares?
I think
It's
that
gonna connect you
The
to others.
project's been on hold for.
Yeah.
the issues that they have.
Yeah, it's like so like in flux, I feel like we don't need to say anything on it.
Master plans are really cool, yeah.
Yeah.
It gets you places fast.
But what people are concerned about though is it's really not helping us because it's between Washington and Baltimore.
Oh, there's no stop
There's
there.
no stop.
Oh.
And there's,
So.
That's the whole point of it.
BWI, they're supposed to.
Oh, they really?
Yeah, that, they're supposed to.
Okay. I see.
It greatly affects the Maryland City area, we take part of the park, one of the alignments.
Ooh,
Part of the park.
Parkway.
I mean,
Oh,
The
They have
the
large
county
ma-
evaluated it and did not.
they
And
have
Prince
large
George is not.
maintenance facilities that take up lots of.
Both of those counties the most and, kind of evaluated it. The impact was greater than what we would get.
gotcha. So the county's already against that. Yeah, we don't need to say.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, Prince George is went as far as, I think, a resolution, a council resolution.
Oh, really?
I mean, I agree, but this is like, well, Julie left already, like, that's the Julie thing, that,
You mean those short ones where you can't even see the car?
well, that's, yeah,
Unfortunately, it's a state.
yeah.
And federal.
In
And
fact,
federal, yeah, it's about 295 from 175 down, and that's
That's not really
National
our
Park Service.
I mean, I feel the pain, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's our first.
Okay,
Yeah,
Bridge car.
okay.
okay, let me, there you go, say it so that you can see everything.
I like that. Aren't we trying to repurpose some of the areas that we're looking for community centers? But like fields and,
Oh, I'm not sure, you mean repurpose which areas?
like, I know the parks and recreation said that there's like some plans to. I guess we do turf and some of the, I guess, parks we have with the. Repurpose them or something.
Is this a need by Recon Park, has Recon Parks identified an area that we need lighted fields?
Not necessarily, this was just a general issue that, does Provinces Park have lighted fields? No, just in general that there isn't,
Communities that they'll never agree with it.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the lights on.
So again, this was just very general that in Region 2, there isn't that larger athletic complex that can host sporting events throughout the evening.
Right, and it's not, in Howard County, all the kids can have practices up until not like, yeah, between 9 and 10 if you're high school. You know, the older you get, the later your practice time is, but they get so much more time by having all the lighted fields. That everybody gets places to play.
And so the comments, again, on average, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, we only typically received about 6 or so, and about half were kind of substantive or were copy and paste from other comments that they had left before. So of those that were more substantive, people said, well, where is this athletic field with lighted fields going to be? Afraid that, you know, again, it might be in their backyard and there might be light pollution in the evening. So that was just the only thought here, is whether you all wanted to zero in on location or just keep it general and say, look, we.
So we did write that strategy to construct a lot,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
What, wasn't there a park we visited on tour that near Arundel Mills?
Yeah, we did.
correct,
Didn't
right.
that have like a field, I thought?
So that's the baseball.
It was Joe Kansas State.
Oh, okay, I didn't have a field, like what they're describing.
Yeah, they have a lot of fields there, but there's dog walking parks and everybody's walking path.
Is there room for like a lighted field there?
I think there could be.
Complex, so it could be a,
It seems like there's got a lot of open space there.
right. So that could be the area, right?
Yeah.
So could it be construct a new or retrofit existing?
Right, that's what I was talking about.
Right. But, except for that park that you recommended, and if there's another park, we can't really tell them where they can locate a new facility, because
Yeah.
Brigham Parks has to,
Yeah.
you know, purchase the land, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, because we also need parks without playing fields too. So I would say that's a higher priority. You know, if we were to purchase the land like we were talking about for the Jessup Park, that tiny park off of one video, they're talking about buying 30 acres there. I'd rather it wasn't developed, but I think it's Farmers Park. Right?
Yeah.
Farmers Park.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's Park is all.
So that makes all that.
Does that
Is
work?
that on
Yeah.
fields, on the video park?
No. Oh, that's Joe Kansas State. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then,
0%.
so the interesting thing,
I
Sam,
know, I was amazed.
this one received
Zero.
8 responsive.
6.
So,
So, yeah, 0, so 6 responses, 2 of which were no opinion, and then the 4 was disagree. So this was also at the end of the questionnaire, so either people did a couple and then exited out because Survey Monkey people still record your answers, even if you don't complete the survey up until a certain point. So either they got that way, exit out, or they just skipped it entirely. We only got 6 respondents.
these are the folks that had stamina.
I do think this was I do believe this was the very last one. Healthy economy.
I still think we should develop around.
I think we spent a lot of time talking about that.
So,
Appreciate the disagreement, but yeah. This is.
Yeah.
I
Okay, great. So that's it then. We'll go ahead and make these updates.
Great.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so with that, then we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which I think is the tutorial.
Yeah.
Just go back here to the agenda.
Application tool tutorial.
So I'm gonna hand it off to Sam.
Do you want to keep it on the stream so you keep sharing with people online, or do you want to?
So they'll be able to pick it up on now. right?
Oh, yeah, I guess if it's.
Get my van away from it.
All right.
Yeah, really, play with technology tonight.
Yeah, so.
One Van White and then Mark will be Pat Sajak for the Are We Fortunate? We'll see how that operates, because as we were testing it, when we started, the processor in the back of this computer was really ramping up. So we're just gonna give a quick overview of the zoning map application and any zoning application changes. Because, people aren't the best at technology, but giving a rundown, probably the best course of action, just so everyone knows how to properly use it and understand what they're looking at. So this is, of course, our lovely Region 2 planning hub site. You scroll down, you'll see this is where we kind of put all the new stuff. See, linked here, draft zoning map, zoning change request application now available. Clicking this link will prompt you to a new window, which starts off with our introduction that explains kind of what's going on during the region plan process, what our goals are, what's going on with this, including draft zoning map, talking about what that is, any kind of reference map, which will also bring up in this as well, zoning application as well as next steps. It specifies that this comment period will run from now, which started May 1st to June 1st. And then for anyone who wants a refresher beyond this, we do have a demonstration video as well. So if you forget what I talk about now, you can go ahead and click on that link and it will bring up a video that you can follow along. And this is just more information on the region plans, Plan 2040. And at the bottom, we love helping people. We do have drop-in sessions coming up. Most recent one was was May 3rd, Wednesday here at Severn Library. The next two are Tuesday, May 16th, Maryland City, all day from 10 to 6. And then again, Maryland City the following week on May 23rd. You can drop in, tell your friends if they can't figure it out from the video or what I'm talking about now. Will be available to kind of walk them through. So.
Did you get a good turnout on the third?
We had a couple people come in, a couple people were talking about maths, other people were, asking just general questions about the Region 2, process as well as surrounding regions, because Severn Library is kind of at a pinnacle between Region 2, 3, as well as close to 1. So we did pass out information on the second round of the region plan starting up for regions 1, 3, and 9. So we are also handing out other material because we think other people may be interested. But continuing on with the tabs at the top, you got the summary of changes. This is just kind of talking about kind of generally what's going on, what you'll see in this. First off, when you check out consistency changes like alignment of communities, in this example, you have a older community that has split zoning between R2 and R5. Generally, they have the same density. So what's going on with the consistency change here is to kind of make that all R5 can represent that. This kind of the density in this area. We talked about this as well, the open space zoning district change to make it more meaningful. Previously, the open space zoning was based on old FEMA floodplains. Now they're going to be more, they're being changed to a residential zoning because environmental protection is governed through the code. I think it's in Article 18. And through this will make open space more meaningful. So when it represents parks or any other kind of natural spaces, and won't be cutting into people's backyards as well. Kind of just making that change. And then also you'll see in this application, you'll see slivers. GIS is not perfect. You'll see parcel boundaries as well as zoning boundaries. They don't perfectly align. When you get into this application, you'll see that we're trying to marry those up more. So there's no confusion to kind of remove any question as to what is exactly going on in these parcels.
And I just so recently, the council adopted legislation that allows the Office of Planning and Zoning to make these corrections. But for this first round, they're going to be included in our comprehensive zoning maps that we submit to the council, because there's not enough time between now and when we go to council for legislation of the master plan and content this week. And to make those changes.
Yeah, and moving further down, you also get to summary statistics, kind of explaining kind of the percent changes, you'll see kind of what's going on, negative changes from R2, R1, you'll see where we're increasing, kind of giving general statistics to what they'll see on the next tab. Click into that. This does move a little slow, so sorry if I have to let it catch up occasionally. Very smooth. You can use this, you can zoom in and out, you can also add comments as soon as it loads. You'll see that, you see red and green comments will typically mean agree, red will be disagree, and then you can actually store what other people are talking about. So if you go ahead and click here, it'll zoom into a certain area and you'll see comments submitted by Jonathan Reinach. I think you can remain anonymous if you skip that. And it kind of talks about details, reasoning of why they agree with this. You can also leave a comment when you can actually like it as well. This also goes for any disagreements where you'll see other comments come up about why they don't believe there should be a change. In order to leave a comment, all you need to do is say, we use the right property example, north of Arundel Mills. Here. Say I was a commenter and I would say, okay, this is perfect. I like that they're upzoning this. Bond, if you submit a comment, you can either place it out yourself, or you can Google your address. From here, you can say whether you agree or disagree with the region draft zoning designation for the property or area. You can select, you disagree what zone district you recommend. You can actually, commenters can recommend what they believe would be appropriate. They didn't think R15 was good. They could come in and talk and put a R10. And list a general opinion on why that is their opinion, as well as the secondary, but we do have an open-ended questionnaire at the end to say, okay, if their opinion is not available, they can write in why they believe that this change should or shouldn't happen. And also leave any information. This is not required, but people are more than welcome to leave their name, phone number, email address, I guess for us to reach out at any point.
Is the name, phone number, and email address posted, like, can other people see that?
Yeah.
It is,
The name.
not the email itself.
Yeah, the name, but not phone number. No.
You said it can be anonymous, if you didn't skip that part and save it.
Not a required question.
Yeah.
That's really the phone and emails more for you all, if you had to contact them.
So yeah, it's just leaving comments. What else you can do is if you click, you see these kind of brown dash lines, this represent any kind of changes. So if you actually click outside of that, it brings up what is being changed. So for this current zoning is W1, OPZ recommend R10. This was our justification. Your guys' recommendation will come up saying recommended R15 with that justification that you guys agreed upon, saying to upzone the property to the east of Bright Road to be compatible with the Dorchester View community. So you can explore around and see every other change while.
So that's what those brown lines were, I'm trying to figure that out.
It's similar to the symbology we used on those paper maps when we met.
Yeah.
in first, well,
So for instance, where through the W1, that used to be open space.
Yeah.
And you
so-
all took that off because there wasn't
Mhm.
I got you.
And also for the slivers, if you do zoom into certain properties, you can see those alignments as well. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it does, when you zoom out from a distance, it does look pretty extreme, but a lot of that, it might be overlapping just for those consistency stuff.
Sometimes the zones are hard to follow because they don't like go, they're not necessarily in the property, or maybe they are when you blow up that big, but on my screen, I couldn't blow up that big and I lost context and couldn't tell where it was.
So yeah, that is the draft zoning map that is currently out for comment, closing on June 1st, like we said. Going to the next tab, this is for those zoning change applications. Where you can go in here, you can say, okay, I'm in region 2. You can say whether you're a property owner or you're submitting application for a single property or multiple properties.
And this is if you're the property owner.
Yes,
We're not, because at the end, you need to verify that you are the property owner or you're the acting agent on behalf of the property owner, so.
And this is for something other than change that is already being.
If you wanna,
Right, if you reverse the zoning that's illustrated on the previous tab, you can leave a comment, and if you're the property owner, say, I agree.
Right.
But if you're looking for a change to what's proposed on that tab, on that previous tab, then we're asking folks to fill out this application.
We potentially could get applications that are asking for the change that represents what we're recommending.
Oh, really?
That's not.
Although
I guess that makes sense because this could go to council.
Right, my advice when people are asked is to, just follow the process they have, if they want to follow the application with acceptance. But follow the process.
But what you're saying is only owners or their agents. No, like I can't go in and judge properties.
Right.
yeah. What's fun about this, if you use a single property, it'll give a little map where you can just type in your address and any kind of other identifying information, and it will bring you to that parcel. So if I'll do my address, it should immediately take you to.
That makes sense much easier. I don't know what example there.
They'll bring it up and it should provide the parcels as well, depending on how fast it loads. I'm hoping it loads the same. Quick tip, if you are storing the map and you do kind of jolt around, it is pulling in a lot of data, so maybe a little slow and you might even crack, but just give it some time and let it catch up to itself, just the amount of information. For single properties, you can type in the address. Or do multiple properties, there is a tool to kind of draw the area around. So if you're an agent or property owner and you have 5 parcels, you can draw around those 5, and it will pull in that.
Contiguous parcels, if you have 5 parcels throughout the region, fill out a different application for each, but if they're contiguous, do the multiple properties option.
And it's still true that no one has done this yet, that no one has.
Region 2 has not received any applications yet. Regions 4 and 7 have received some.
And how do you become an agent?
Like
An
the
attorney.
attorney, representative, or engineer, maybe if they're, if
Family
depends on where they
member.
are in the process. You know.
And there's just more identifying information. You can say property owner, agent, property owner's name, contact information, so we can reach out to them. Current use of property. Always, you got agriculture, every kind of use that we see in Arundel County, you specify there. Then any kind of other identifying information about that property, such as, does this have any requested zoning changes in the past? Is it certified non-conforming use? So just as much identifying information we can get to make OPZ's recommendation a little bit more clear and easy on us. We've taken that information, we're looking at it and making those considerations. So yeah, that is the application. All these are required. I don't think any of these are not required. But good news is if they don't know, they can just click on it.
So when, after you fill this whole thing out, I noticed this with some of the other, is there a way of printing it so you have a record of what you submitted? Because I always found when you submitted them, it was gone, and like you
This
could.
program didn't allow us to do that. We checked, because that was one of our lessons learned from planned land use applications during Plan 2040. But if you do want a PDF afterwards, you can reach out to us and we're able to PDF.
And
it.
you are able to.
Did they get a response that it was received, a confirmation, you know that?
It should say that, thank you for your submittal, something along those
I
lines,
just,
right?
Take screenshots.
yeah, well, yeah. If we receive it, then it's downloaded and we get the downloadable PDF. Okay.
Seeing that's the application, next tab is reference map. This is just another map of region 2. So from here, you can actually go on different layers. You can check out the initial draft plan land use. Click off that, you can check out development policy areas, any kind of overlays, roads. Just to get an idea of what's going on out there. I know if you guys seen this, but anyone else who may have not, you can use this tab to check out region 2. And then finally, we got next steps, what's going on after this. How we are taking feedback until June 1st, and review public comments on the draft zoning map. And then eventually bring that back to you guys, review kind of any comments that public puts out, and make any changes based upon their concerns or comments. And also list the further dates about when the preliminary draft is gonna happen, when we're planning for PAB introduction, as well as hopefully introduction to county council by January 2024. And last tab, for any kind of translations, you can download, this will tell you how to download the Google Chrome extension for language translation to Spanish, Korean, or whatever you need. So, yeah, that's cool. What we got?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
We're gonna leave this up. I'm not really sure if you guys want to check out anything in particular.
Well, actually, I do have a question.
Sure.
I know we talked about along 198 and along other areas having mixed use, but it's not showing up on these maps.
Right, we talked about the planned land use being mixed use because we don't have those specific zoning districts that you all described yet. So with the planned land use, providing that vision for future zoning changes, that should suffice.
Right, so as I mentioned earlier, the plan itself will have a description of the communities, and then if there's been an area, like one of the village areas or some area that you have applied mixed use, there'll be a description of what it is that you want. We do plan, like, one of the test amendments that we plan to go forward with. I don't know if it'll happen before the comp zoning does, but as an overhaul of the mixed use zoning that we have now, we know that it hasn't been working. And that was a strategy in Plan 2040. So we haven't really started on that yet, but we talked about it being more about scale versus percentages of this type of use, being very flexible on the type of use. So some of the village areas are in rural areas, you wouldn't want high density, some of them are in like lower density, kind of crossroads in the suburban areas, you also wouldn't want high density, so we're thinking that in those areas, you could still have mixed use, if it doesn't have to be horizontal, to be vertical mixed use. So just trying to be more flexible with.
So does that mean we're going to also have an updated land use map in the?
Planned land use,
Yes.
yeah, and that's what Sam is showing you on the.
Oh, this is the
Yeah.
proposed one?
Yeah, this is the initial, so
So it's not fixed use.
yeah, the
Planned land use designation.
cross hatch, and in the, I'm gonna go back to zoning real quick. This is one of those OS2 zoning consistency change to make OS more meaningful, where this was previously less attached mixed use transit or.
That's actually split zone, it should be W1.
That's an error.
Yeah, that's an.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
The error still has your guys' justification talking about the mixed use, planned land use, and then specifying that. You guys recommending a new mixed use zone district to be applied for this area. But yeah, on the reference map, it does have that whole mixed use plan land use across the around 198 corridor.
So I didn't, I'm sorry.
Sorry, if you go back to that last screen. It's still shown as W1. Right, it's still colored purple,
Mhm.
but in the explanation, it's saying what the recommendations are on the right hand side. of the screen.
It's not a change, that's why it's not coming up,
Yeah.
it's, what the W1 is saying.
Yeah, it's for those like alignment ones, it still will have so while the Laurel doesn't have a proposed zoning change, there is a consistency change around it as that note included in there. So if they do click on that, it says, okay, it's an alignment, but this is what you guys are recommending.
Yeah, I was just confused because the prior screen showed it MXDT, but it's still showing W.
Right.
The land use map is showing mixed use, not really specifying,
What the
yeah.
exact
Zoning
designation.
designations, but.
So I guess if you're a property owner and you're thinking, geez, I really want this to be mixed use, you should go to the land use map, not the zoning designation map. Right?
No, they need to.
Still out
Fill
there.
out an application
Yeah.
if they want mixed use and, you know, right now, they would only have the choices of our existing mixed use zones.
Right. Better.
But you would be supported because the plan land use is showing mixed use, so if they were to apply. If, talking about the Laurel Racetrack, they're W1, if they were to apply and say we want one of those mixed use zoning districts. It would probably be supported.
It would come back to you all for discussion.
Yeah.
The problem is with this, why we haven't recommended, I think we reached out to the property, owner, correct? And the problem is the racetrack is only allowed in W1 and W2 zones right now. W1, I guess, I think that's one use of W2.
So it would be non-conforming.
So it'd be non-conforming, and we didn't want to make it non-conforming if the property owner is not supporting that, but recognizing that the future redevelopment of this site is preferred by us and the community.
Can we talk about the light mixed use up along 175 too?
Yeah, that was pretty soon on that. I didn't realize reference maps were proposed.
Just the plan land use.
Okay,
That's why we have.
I didn't even look at it because I didn't realize.
Yeah, I didn't.
And the reference map is really just so that folks don't have to go to the My Arundel map
Mhm.
Yeah.
and click, open 5 different maps or go to different websites. It's just like a one-stop shop in here.
But what I didn't realize was this was actually proposed.
Yeah,
Right. As opposed to the one with
it's an initial draft.
Yeah, it's an initial draft plan land use map, May 2023.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Oh, so you could pull the others up too, I guess. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So here, the concern about the mixed use though is, I know we had strong feelings about these corridors going to mixed use. And if you guys don't update the code either before or right after, how does it? I mean, is it forcing people then to go have to do administrative rezonings to, or are you guys going to then go back to the map? Once the mixed use zones are updated and then add the mixed use to the
I
zoning
think we're
maps?
gonna have to talk to the law office about it. I know. Trying to think, I don't remember what happened. During the small area plan process. There were 2 zoning categories, well, 2 different types of zoning categories that were proposed through the small area plan process, and the first plans that went through just wrote about it in the plan and specified areas. And the one was called residential business transition zone, which eventually was now known as small business. And the other was mixed use. Those didn't appear in the code until I say 2005. So a lot of the smaller plans were already adopted and some of the comp zoning. So I don't know, I'd have to go back and do some research of how those then became
Yeah, because that.
the zoning category that they are today, was it? I don't know. That's
I mean, it seems like if it's the recommendation and that's what the land use is, and it's just a matter of the code's not updated, that once the code's updated. You all should update the zoning maps to match.
so that's all we have to ask.
Yeah.
Let's see what's along with 75.
You want to see the plan land use or the zoning?
Well,
So, 170.
because
I
that
need
has
to turn down the transparency. That's,
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
so yeah,
I finally figured that button out.
we'll go a little further. So 3 dots, we can actually change the different visibility range of the zoom out. It won't appear, but if you wanna kind of see through it. And turn it down and have. You can overlay with aerial, now you can actually see what's going on, so. Let's see, 175. Here is National Business Park. Here's correctional facility. So we'll start north. You can see here's the just a train station, that mixed use. PLU. Land recommendation, here's the elementary school.
No, mainly it's the mixed, so that's that same mixed use that we haven't defined yet.
Correct.
This plan land use, this is the mixed use plan land use, so it's just very general. And then the zoning,
Didn't
Um,
change. Right, it's industrial. it's
change.
still up there.
I think
Part of it, yeah.
Well, that's, yeah, that's, and the industrial is
Right.
industrial R1, right, so the zoning did not change.
Is it shaded?
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, like I said, if you zoom around too quickly, you zoom it, it has to catch up to itself, so it's.
and the other thing too, is when we were working on the paper maps, we were making these changes, drawing them. Without the parcel boundary, so when we go back and do this starting in June 15th. We'll have the parcel boundary, it'll be a cleaner layout and we'll be able to fine tune this, so, okay. So there might be things that could be off by a parcel or two. Again, right, we'll refine it throughout the next
Yeah,
few
so
months.
that's the zoning map, so that hasn't changed.
Right.
Yeah, that's R1.
No, that's what I saw. I was like, oh, no,
Yeah.
they missed all the mixed use.
Right.
No, it's, you know, unless you want to recommend one of the existing mixed use zones.
Right. True.
Yeah,
A good
But if
point.
not, you know, the description of what it is that you are envisioning for that
Yeah.
mixed use area can be written in the code, and then as we're defining what those mixed use zoning categories look like, that can be incorporated.
As somebody who's worked with mixed use projects since 2004. The more that you have, the more complicated it's going to be. Like right now, the mixed use is just way too complicated. I mean, it's defining things that the markets don't even, support. And the whole thing with square footage, it's a nightmare on our part to, manage all the square footages and the uses and everything. So I would recommend we simplify it as much as possible. I don't know if you need as many categories. Or if you could do it
That's the
differently.
only thing about scale, just so like. A lot of people are supportive of mixed use. But if they're not educated about what that means, their mind automatically goes to full as, and so they know they don't want that.
Mhm.
But if you show them examples of
Mhm.
different, scale, then that's acceptable. And the overall goal is to have more walkable communities.
Right, yeah.
So Sam, let's see the land use again. Did we show a difference between the transit mixed use at the Jessup train station?
Can you put them in, because you blew
Oh,
the
yeah.
mixed use from back here, it looks blank.
Yeah.
I think it's a
You might do that.
diagonal
Yeah,
line,
it's,
right?
it kind of blends in with the aerial, but yeah, just note that any area that's pretty clear compared to other ones, that's where the mixed use is on this. So the planned land use won't reference
No.
those specific mixed use areas, it just says planned land use is mixed use, but then when you do those zoning, they have to be, those zoning districts have to be consistent with the planned land use, so like they were saying, if there was a zoning application saying, okay, when MXD T or R, whatever, it would be supported because the planned land use is that in that area.
But is that right? I thought that all the way up to the industrial on the south side was. Was that?
The thought was that's within the BRAC mixed use zone. So, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking to the east.
I was talking to the south, not up where he's going.
Oh, I'm going south.
Along 175 to
Yeah.
the east.
Yeah, so we have mixed use, then we have this one little finger of, what is that?
Oh, right here.
No, but there and toward the industrial.
This one, so the light blue is public use because I believe that's owned by the correctional facility.
Eastbound one
There's one
seventy-five, there's
small
one little
parcel.
finger of it pointing down.
Oh, right here.
No, people
No,
at the bottom,
east.
right stop.
See where the purple is,
That-
right next to it.
Yeah, that's owned by the, those are the prison houses. We used to call them, there's 4 houses there that used to be guards lived there, and now they're used for office buildings. And then
Oh.
across 175 is just an elementary school.
No, I knew the school, but it just looks odd when you're looking at it, and then all of a sudden you have whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's why we've always considered that, like, that's the break point. There's, there's west of that public land and there's east of that public land,
Right,
and they're handled differently.
but does it make sense? Like, what if they sell it or something? Just when you're looking at overall zoning, doesn't it make sense to have the mixed use up to the industrial? Than have this.
The zoning could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So this will probably make a lot more sense once you see a review of the draft plan where these areas will be called out, small maps. So it's talking about just a mixed use area, with the description of it, and then there's a map and it shows the outline, so we're not here, somebody else in the future can,
Right,
you
you know
know,
what,
will know exactly.
But
Mhm.
I see what Charlie's saying. One thing is if we extend that, then that would encourage the correctional facility, please sell this.
Yeah, well, and you can outline
Would
the
you want
area
to?
too.
Yeah,
can-
because
yeah.
there are 4 old
I know,
houses that are falling apart. They're not maintained.
they're not maintained, I
And
know.
they're not, it always bothered us that they weren't used as houses, but now it's not appropriate to be used for houses.
But the way it is, they're not gonna, who's gonna buy it?
Well, if it's mixed use,
I
it's,
mean, currently.
the dirt is, yeah.
Yeah,
So on
They would
the,
have
on
this.
the outline of the area that you are proposing for mixed use, that you can include those for mixed use zoning. The land use, it's public use now, so it should stay that way, and that's consistent with, it doesn't matter what the zoning category.
Yeah.
and we can get into this in more depth June 15th, but the idea here was just give you a tutorial. And then you all go home and can make these comments.
Yeah.
Application if necessary.
Rather than doing it now.
So,
So on June 15th, are you gonna have the maps again on the tables, or are we gonna have to do this? Cause I find the maps on the tables easier to follow.
yeah. We can see what we've got. Map, if you all prefer the paper maps, we can do that and still have this available so that we can do the pop-up to get some additional information on the right-hand side.
Mhm,
Might be both.
mhm.
Yeah. So again, you can start at aacounty.org/region 2, and that link, Sam showed you, was right up at the top, so. There you go.
Great.
You guys do a great job with these things.
Yeah, you're awesome. A lot of information.
It really is.
Yeah, that's our credit our GIS department. really.
Yeah, they're amazing, the stuff they've come up with.
Great, all right, so,
Okay.
Mark, go over.
Yeah, I just want to bring up one slide so that everybody has it in front of them in 2 seconds.
Actually, while you're doing that, I did have one more question. Are you also revising, since now I see that you're revising the land use, are you also revising the overlay or is that what we call it?
Policy area.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we talked about removing the village center
Yeah.
in Jessup, or as an example, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we talked about changing some of the neighborhood preservation. I mean, we're putting mixed use in neighborhood preservation. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've got that note taken down so we can talk about that.
Those maps.
internally, yeah. So also on that webpage, Sam shared right below that, we want to draw your attention obviously to the zoning tool and application, but if you do go under that, we did provide a summary of those, of the results with those statistics of how people provided their feedback, agree, disagree, or no opinion, as well as a brief summary of the comments. So that's now available and up, go check it out. Also, Sam ran through the zoning map and application. Just to reiterate, we've got those 2 more drop-in sessions will be available. And if folks just have general questions, or if they need help filling out the application, or just what Sam did here, just a quick tutorial of the map, we're happy to do that for folks. Just drop in, you don't have to make an appointment. Then our next couple of meetings are June 15th and the 22nd. And this is because the comments end on June 1st, as well as applications. We'll have time to review those and start reviewing them with you all on the 15th and the 22nd. So paper maps, smart screen, we'll have information available so that you all can make some decision on those. Okay.
In July is what?
And then just looking ahead to July is when we'll put all this together. We've finalized the strategies for now. We can put those into the preliminary draft plan. And then the last part for you all to review is the mapping elements, zoning, land use, and development policy areas. And we'll put that all together into a plan so everybody has then the context to review the strategies, the maps, like Cindy said, the community descriptions, some other statistics, make it real nice and pretty for you all.
So what does that mean though? Is it July, you all doing this? We're not meeting in July?
We will put out, since we're gonna be reviewing the maps, I don't think there's necessarily a need for you to see everything again, since we finished the strategies. By hopefully June 22nd, you all have reviewed and finalized the maps. We can put that all together and then put that out for public review, preliminary draft.
Or maybe, like, if they wanna review the,
Community descriptions.
yeah. I mean, that can be provided in advance of the public review.
Yeah. We can schedule time as a placeholder
Yeah.
if you want to
Well,
do
that was
that.
what I was thinking. Being summer,
Sure.
Yeah, you might.
I think it's gonna be tough to get it.
I'm not gonna be here
The whole month.
on the 22nd. What do you mean?
Oh,
So July, too.
I'll be here.
I think July will be on, so.
well, there you go. Uh-oh, problematic.
They're already down to.
Did we look at a different date?
Let me send out
Yeah,
a
let's-
doodle and make sure that folks can make this. If we can hit our core, then let's keep plugging along. But again, hopefully people can commit to that if they're indicating on this doodle poll that they can make it. We can do it June 22nd, but again, we do need to move through this pretty quickly to get a draft out, a preliminary draft out.
Those are Thursdays.
Yes.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
I missed the doodle poll.
No,
So
I
we're
just-
going to send it out
Oh,
to make sure, yeah, since we have.
I
folks
remember
here.
seeing some kind of.
Yeah, to see patients,
That's for
sure, you know, so there's folks that aren't here tonight, so we already know 2 that can't make. So we gotta at least get 2 more.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, with that, is there any public comment?
Yeah, no problem. Mark, the preliminary draft of the city is going out in July. Is that gonna be an online comment like the previous one that Mark Cook's gonna set up similar? I want to give credit to Mark Cook.
Mhm.
He did the online, his team did the online tool.
Okay.
They did a great job, as Marilyn has said. Second, I want to commend you all on the flexibility force con for workforce housing. But also remember, and Marilyn's the expert here, flexibility can also mean being a little more flexible on allowing off-site rather than on-site, you know, it's more than just the percentages. And flexibility doesn't mean get away with murder. It can be, let them be more flexible in how they address the forthcoming issues. Because right now, the town can be very strict, and now you gotta do things on site if we lose developability for the workforce housing site. But if they can be a little more flexible also on other forthcoming requirements, that's very helpful. So I want to commend you all on that, because that would be a big help. Thanks.
Yeah, because I think that's offsite should be an option.
Well, it is an option now, but you have to go through the Maryland.
Yeah.
It has to go through a certain hierarchy, and they're very strict on the hierarchy, whereas maybe if they were more flexible with workforce housing, it would be.
All right, so with that, I have a motion to adjourn.
I move.
I second.
All right, Tammy,
That was,
and with no objections, we are adjourned at 8:05 p.m. Great, thank you, everybody.